turn to Russell. A few questions for you. Can you give us tips you have for traveling safely, even if you're on a tight budget? And specifically, what advice you might give somebody who is traveling and feels like they can't afford insurance?
Well, I would say, yeah, anytime I have a conversation with someone feeling they can't travel insurance, I prefer to rephrase that and say you can't afford to travel without having some sort of insurance. And when I think back, just last week actually, a story that was in the media, you might not have heard of it. Two young ladies were in Thailand last week having the time of their lives. And they rented a Jeep when a big rainstorm started near Phuket, and they went off the road and rolled down an embankment. Tragically, one of those women passed away just last week, and the other one's still in the hospital. And the headline I saw in the news said, medical bills mounting for uninsured travelers. So I think it's worth a pause for a moment to imagine yourself in medical distress, and coming out of that to find out you may be facing financial ruin on top of that. And there's nothing that's really worth that sort of risk. And I saw that, if my accent hasn't given it away, I'm Canadian, and these were two Canadian girls, so I heard about that news this week. So with that, before you get travel insurance or purchase it, some things you can look at is if you do get medical benefits through your employer, check to see if those benefits extend to cover global coverage. And if not, you can also ask them to see if you can get that added to your policy for an incremental fee. If you're under 18 years old or you're a student who's under 26, check with your parents to see if their plan can be extended to cover yourself as well. As for collision insurance or trip cancellation insurance, personally what I've done is I've used credit cards that offer those sorts of policies. I do read some cases with difficulties with submitting claims, but I submitted a claim once for collision insurance through my credit card and didn't have any trouble. But knowing that, I think it's important to understand the terms and the conditions. Even if you're planning to do any high-risk activities like maybe whitewater rafting or skiing, is to check with that. Scuba, yeah, absolutely. All those sorts of things. We may not realize some of those things may be clauses that exclude us from coverage. So those are things to consider as well. It sounds like a lot of work, it can be overwhelming, but when you look at the risk versus impact, it certainly is well worth it if you do supplement to something well brought.
Yeah, that's really great advice. And at CDC, we have some information about looking for medical insurance to cover you while you're traveling, and just a few notes about that. If you do have your own insurance here that covers you while you're abroad, many times you have to be prepared to pay for your costs up front, and then you can file claims when you get home. So you're not going to pay a copay at the hospital in Thailand, so you need to be prepared financially for that. But also when you're looking for insurance, to look at three things: trip cancellation insurance that Russell just mentioned, medical insurance to cover you while you're traveling, but also trip evacuation or medical evacuation insurance. Medical evacuation can cost $100,000 or more sometimes, and that's one of the things the State Department is not going to pay for you. So it's really, really important to have that. Many policies take you to the nearest place. You can get quality care. They don't necessarily take you home. So just to echo what Russell is saying, pay attention to what coverage you're buying. But I've found it actually very reasonable. As you travel a lot, you can get a yearly policy.